If all of Germany takes up arms, no one will challenge us again. Okay, so Lohengrin was as a recording yesterday. And of course, because it was a long opera, it had the early downbeat at noon instead of 1, which, okay, to the people who show up late for these things, don't turn on your phone light and yell across the theater. Just sit down. Wait till the end of the act, and then find whoever you're supposed to be with. No one wants to hear from you. No one wants to see you. Get there at noon on the dot. Now, from what I remember reading, it was supposed to be a joint production between the Met and the Moscow Opera. Unfortunately, right around the time that Moscow premiered this production, Putin had his little hissy fit and decided to invade Ukraine. So what ended up happening is the Met ended up paying, I think, at least 7 figures to recreate all the set pieces that they had in Moscow, and it just got done back in February. Like, they were just down to the wire getting this thing done. And I think, especially compared to the Parsifal production that they had a few years ago, I think it works. I think it looked fine for the most part. Some interesting outfits as they had for the chorus members, because they all had robes that they would open up and reveal, like, I don't know if it was just different colors that they had, or if it's just the white color that they had when they just opened them up and made it look like everyone was angelic. Sort of trying to lean into the more dreamlike way that they try to do Wagner nowadays, rather than the whole nationalistic way that they kind of are written. They are. I mean, just one of the opening lines: "If all of Germany takes up arms, no one will challenge us again." Yikes! And if you don't know about Wagner, you did not see this one coming. And if you don't know the story of Lohengrin, it's kind of extension of the Holy Grail story. Lohengrin is the son of Parsifal, and he's sent out to help this woman named Elsa, who is accused of getting rid of her brother, who's supposed to be the Duke of Brabant, which is, I guess, a German region, or maybe just a German town. And he saves her, or comes to her rescue after she says, "I will give away everything, including my life, for whoever comes and saves me." And then Lohengrin comes in and is like, "I will save you and I will marry you, but you cannot ask me my name, where I came from, or my lineage." And she agrees to it, and he saves her. And then later on, she gets sort of manipulated by the bad guys, and she just goes right out. It's like, "Tell me your name, tell me your lineage, tell me where you came from." And then he reveals his name. He reveals that he's the son of Parsifal, who found the Grail, or at least found the Grail in Wagner's universe, or maybe I'm not too familiar with that era of. I don't think I'd necessarily call it history, but that era of tales and folklore. But he was essentially sent by the Grail to, of course, save Elsa. And as it turned out, the swan that carried him to Brabant also happened to be Elsa's brother, who was cursed by Ortrud, the sorceress, who turned him into a swan thanks to a chain that she put around his neck. And so, as, I guess, a parting gift to Brabant and Elsa, he removes the curse from Elsa's brother. And then she dies of embarrassment, I think. And then main cast, Piotr was phenomenal. Wouldn't have been my first choice to be Lohengrin, but I think that's more because I'm used to Jonas Kaufman at doing Wagnerian roles like this. Like, I've seen him a few times in Parsifal. I know that he's done, I've actually seen him a couple times, at least one time, as Lohengrin as well. So I was kind of hoping for him in this production, but Piotr did it well. Like, I know I gave him grief for Rigoletto last year because I thought he's kind of losing the top end of his range. But if this is where he wants to go for the last part of his career, just do some Wagnerian stuff, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a bad Tannhäuser. I do want to say the match that he had against Telramund early in the opera, well, early, end of Act 1. You're already an hour in, it's not really early. The match that he had was kind of oddly choreographed, because you had Telramund, played by Evgeny Nikitin, sounded kind of quiet. First off, before I get into that scene, he sounded kind of quiet. I don't know what was going on there, but whenever he was going along with the orchestra, you were just kind of looking at it and going, "What?" I realize it's in German, and I don't really speak German, and I'm not really going to understand without the subtitles, but even then, I see him singing, I should be able to hear what he's singing. And actually the same thing happened with Tamara Wilson, who played Elsa. She was a little quiet as well, although I don't know if that was her or necessarily the balance, because that's been an issue sometimes with some of these live in HD events where the sopranos, particularly some of the quieter sopranos, when you hear them in the movie theater, they tend to sound a little quieter than they probably are on stage. But the sound of those two singers weren't just the only issue. There was also, seemed to be an odd issue of just like possible compression of the sound. What happens is, if you're not familiar with audio recording, whether it's analog or digital, is when something gets a little too loud, like it starts clipping. So what you can do is you add like a compressor filter onto it, and it caps it off at a certain point. And I think that's what was happening in some areas, where it sounded like it should have been getting loud, and then suddenly it levels off, or it gets quieter for some reason. One of the places I recognized this in was at the end of Elsa's procession to the cathedral, the big sort of chorus number in the middle of Act 2, when she's, of course, processing to the cathedral to get married to Lohengrin. And you get to this part where it goes back to the original melody at the beginning of the song is da 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 da, and it's sort of like this slow build right up until you get to ba da 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 da, and it's this big point in the song, and then you get this sort of fake out ending in the opera where it goes ba ba, and then Ortrud comes in and stops her from going in, and it's supposed to be this huge musical moment, and for some reason it just sounded quiet, like she was just quietly procession. Like she was just quietly processing to the cathedral. We don't want anyone to know that she's getting married, so there's no reason to be loud about it. Everyone, please, do not make a big deal about it. Like, this is one of those songs you should have, like, the Mahler enthusiasm memes going on. This is one of those songs at the very end. You should have, like, Simon Rattle going. Where was I? Wow, I started this with trying to talk about the fight between Telramund and Lohengrin. Okay, let's get back to that. Okay, so the fight between the two of them. For some reason, Lohengrin didn't take a sword. Usually in this, they have sort of like a sword battle, and he hits the sword out of Tellerman's hand and then sort of points at him. He's like, "You lost, and I'm going to spare your life." And in this one, he doesn't have a sword with him coming in. They offer him a sword. He doesn't take it. And then Tellerman, he's got his sword with him, and he's sort of swinging around, sort of warming up. And Lohengrin starts doing this weird hand stuff like he's in Dragon Ball Z. Like, it looked like he beat him with a Kamehameha wave. Honestly, after that, I was expecting when they fought again in Act 3, he would just force push him into the wall and that'd be it. But no, he just took the knife and just right across the throat. And then let's see, Christine Goerke, she was good as Ortrud. There was a lot of raising of the arms and unfolding like this big red dress color that she had. And again, if it's not something that you're like, nothing I say is going to convince you otherwise. I mean, it's obviously supposed to be setting a certain element, a certain tone to the entire production. Her in red, the Herald and the King and all their people in green. Elsa and their people, they're in white, but they're sort of got like a black robe on top just to contrast, I guess, the all white button-down shirt that Lohengrin is wearing. I mean, I know that's part of the thing with when they did Parsifal years ago, but what the heck? It's like everyone else is dressed for a Wagner performance, and then you got this guy who looks like he is just trying to relax, stepping out of a boardroom. Elsa's out here trying to sing about how she wants someone clad in armor to come save the day, and all she ends up getting is someone dressed in corporate casual. I don't get it. I mean, I understand they're going for a certain look. They're going for a certain dreamlike visual. But everyone's dressed sort of in one particular style, and then you get your title character dressed more for cubicle work. It completely clashes with what's going on. But I guess it kind of makes sense the way that they did it for Lohengrin, because you look at Parsifal, everyone's dressed like they're from the corporate meeting, and then you got, wait a minute, this actually looks relatively uniform. Wait, so for Parsifal, you get everyone dressed relatively uniform, but then for Lohengrin, you get Pete from Accounts Payable going to a Star Trek planet. This makes no sense. I don't get the reason for it. And even if they explain it to me, I don't think I'll ever... Where the hell did that go? I think I knocked it down when I reached back. Yeah, I don't get the reason for it. And I think if the production team tried to explain to me why all the guys who are part of the Knights of the Grail were dressed up that way, I think I'd just end up being more confused. Anyways, where were we? Lot of notes in here. The Herald was really good. Brian Mulligan, he was very good. Hope we get to see him in other stuff. I wonder if he'd do a good Kurvenal in Tristan and Isolde. Oh yeah, there was this weird thing that happened near the beginning of Act 3 where, you got the usual subtitles right there, and they're the pre-programmed ones that they put in for when the people start singing. And then there were live subtitles that were going over top of it. And I don't know if this was just a thing like with Fedora where we were losing the sound on our side. I don't know if it was a thing where it was our theater that was experiencing it, if it was every theater that was experiencing it. I mean, for a second there, I thought we were getting hacked. the way that everything was, the way that the subtitles were getting put on there, and some of the stuff that was getting put onto the screen there. I thought it was a hack. You know, it's one of those things you can never really be too careful about. I mean, like, the Met did get hacked at the end of last year. So I think that was all my notes right there. Generally, I thought this was a good performance, but with a bit of a mixed production. I thought all the principals did very well in their particular roles. I thought the chorus was good. I thought the orchestra did very well. The opening prelude was beautifully performed. The set, I think, had potential, but I think the execution of it just, again, mixed. Like, there's definitely some good points to it, but again, corporate Lohengrin walking around in a Wagner opera. It's not going to sit well with everyone. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Lohengrin. If you have thoughts on it, be sure to leave them in the comments below, and we can talk about it down there. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up so that the algorithm can spread it to other people just like you. And if this is your first time, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified of new videos when they come out. I will see you guys next time. Take care.